he was operating off of was like, what he was operating off of was like obviously a now retracted newspaper piece. I think it was on The Guardian. And what's interesting is he got owned by fucking Bill Maher of all people. And I feel like if you're getting owned by Bill Maher, you should just throw in, you should throw the towel. You should throw in the towel. You should never try to debate ever again. Because Bill Maher is like, I mean, he's not a particularly intelligent individual. He's not, I mean, getting dunked on by Bill Maher is like pretty humiliating, I think.
It's a shooting at a synagogue. It is very likely to be either a white supremacist or a radical Muslim. If it is a shooting of a Republican politician, it is very likely to be a trans Antifa Marxist shooter.
That is just not.
That's just insane to say. Like, dog, none of those fucking, like, that was not the case. That did not happen. Thomas Crooks is not like a radical transgender Antifa guy. He was a registered Republican, man. Thomas Crooks was a registered Republican. He was wearing like a GunTuber merch. Like, sometimes you got to understand, like, there is just some fucking quote unquote apolitical right adjacent people that just decide, I'm going to make a name for myself by shooting the president. It's insane. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's just not the case.
We don't know what this kid is.
We do know this kid was of the left. We do know that.
We do know what?
That this kid was of the political left. That is according to contemporaneous reporting from The Guardian as well as Tablet Magazine today.
It's 2 days out. We don't know shit, Ben.
But
we don't know shit. They never do. The internet is undefeated in getting it wrong to begin with.
It's not about the internet.
He's fucking right. And The Guardian actually retracted that article. Unironically, I cannot believe Bill Maher is right. I cannot believe I'm saying this. Bill Maher is right. Ben Shapiro is so stupid and so professionally wrong that he made the most annoying, professionally stupid and wrong guy look good in comparison. How is that possible? How is that even possible, man? It's crazy, okay? There should be no comeback from this. If Bill Maher dunks on you, it's over.
About the actual reporting by mainstream accepted. The Guardian is not a right-wing.
Here's what we heard. Here's what I was told so far, and I'll tell you what was wrong. First, I heard he's a registered Republican. Not true. Okay. Then he was a donor to Trump. Not true. His father works in the sheriff's office. Not true. There was a picture of him wearing a pro-Trump shirt. Not true. Member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Not true. We don't know what he is.
Well,
how are you so sure he's of the left? Now, I agree when you write on a bullet, what did he write on the bullet? Catch
this fascist, which is also a gamer thing.
Okay, but now I'm hearing he may have been part of that group for whom Charlie Kirk was not right-wing enough.
You mean the Groypers, yes. I mean, so that would...
You're sure he's not that?
So this is a cooking right here. This is a cooking because Ben hates the Groypers, okay? Ben hates the Groypers almost as much as he hates the left for obvious reasons. The Groypers are anti-Semitic. They're anti-Israel and also anti-Semitic, which, of course, anti-Semitism in that regard is not something that Ben Shapiro actually takes issue with. It's the anti-Israel sentiment, as I've said time and time again. This is something that Ben himself has also voluntarily revealed, like when talking about Ann Coulter, and on numerous other occasions, Ben has quite literally been like, anti-Semitism is fine as long as you're pro-Israel. Like, he's openly said it. And the Groypers have obviously like stalked him as well, including Nick Fuentes. I do find it really interesting that like Groypers are becoming mainstream though. Like, they're now literally talking about this shit on television. Like, my mom asked me what a Groyper is. My mom, I was like, it's over. It's done. When moms are asking about what the fuck a Groyper is, it is clearly the narrative that this might be a far-right neo-Nazi shooter, regardless of whether it's true or not. And I'm not saying that that is the case. Make no mistake. I'm saying it's too soon to tell. But clearly, when moms are asking about what the fuck a Groyper is, like, clearly that is in normie circles. Like, I think on Facebook and all over the internet, like it just blew up. It blew up as like a potential for the shooter being like a far right guy. And what's interesting about it is I've never experienced that before. I've never experienced like misinformation or at least like faulty information spreading in the left direction like this in the aftermath of a shooting. But it was actually weird to see so many right-wingers also go along with that and like recalculate their messaging out of the fear that this might be a fucking groiper. Isn't that crazy? Like, I think right-wingers are so susceptible to misinformation that they're more susceptible to misinformation than real, accurate, truthful assessment and truthful analysis, that if you just make stuff up, they're more inclined to believe it. If you just go, hey man, let's dial it back real quick. Let's wait a couple days before we figure out exactly the ideological profile of this person. He's alive, you know, there will be interrogations and whatnot. Nope. As long as you lie in either direction, you can lie in the left direction, you can lie in the right direction. Right-wingers will jump on board, it seems. Which is crazy. But yeah, it was very interesting. This TikTok explains the memes on the bullets. Yeah, this is my goat. I like this guy a lot. Aiden, etc. He's a reporter. He talks about like culture and stuff, like far right radicalization networks online quite a bit. Here's his piece on the memes on the bullet casings for the shooter. We'll look at that. What is this breaking? It's being reported that 6 transgenders had advanced knowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. What the fuck? What does that even mean, bro? What does that even fucking mean, bro? Breaking news. Remember what I said about Donald Trump saying everything's transgender and then people understand it? That's what this is now. You can just put transgender in anything, in any context, in any situation. You can just apply transgender to it and people will fucking go, that's right, that's probably the case. We have to do something. Like, the right is so easily fucking duped on this shit. Yeah, like, they went, the shooter is trans. Okay, the bullets were trans. Okay, the roommate is trans. Like, what the fuck? How could people not realize this is a psychotic way to approach the situation? What if the shooter wanted to be trans? You never know, like, ahead of time. You know what I mean? It's like, when all else fails, they just lie. And they go along with that lie. It just doesn't make any sense. There's like a 90% chance that all trans people found out by now that Charlie is dead. Yeah. Everybody knows transgender people are magical people. They just like fucking communicate with one another through telepathy. And they were sending out a beacon. It's just like when you start taking HRT, you just have this like these additional powers. You're a really good swimmer too. It's like it gives you swimming powers, okay? It gives you weightlifting powers, and it also gives you the power to precog assassinations ahead of time. That's just how it is. Once you get on that HRT, bro, it's crazy, okay? Like, I'm joking about this shit, but like unironically, that is how it's coming across. Anyway, let me finish this Bill Maher dunk because he goes, well, don't you think he could be a groiper?
But now I'm hearing he may have been part of that group for whom Charlie Kirk was not right-wing enough.
You mean the groipers? Yes. I mean, so that would.
But you're sure he's not that?
I'm not sure that he's not that.
A minute ago you were sure what he was.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on. Okay, because I've been.
You were.
That's it. You just got fucking destroyed by Bill Maher of all people. Okay, by Billiard Jedediah Maher, dude. Come on. Anyway, here, let's look at the meme, the meme analysis of the casings and stuff. I'm gonna go pee real
Charlie
quick.
Kirk's life was engraved with a 12-year-old furry bashing meme. Notice his bulge, ooh woo. what's that? Which tells us an important thing. This assassination was a shitpost. That is the lens to analyze it through. Another of the casings references a video game, Helldivers 2, and a specific bomb that you could send on your enemies in the game with the command up, right, down, down, down. This command line sort of became a meme in image boards where it would be deployed to kind of represent, ending an argument, but almost more so as just like, if you know, you know. And that sort of signals the in-group there. Another of the 4 casings references Bella Ciao, which is an Italian anti-fascist anthem from the World War II era that has stuck around and remained very popular online. It's been used both in left and right-wing political contexts, and it's used in a lot of video games. And then the 4th and final shell casing was engraved with, if you're reading this, you're gay, LMAO. This was a shitpost. It was designed to be maximally disruptive and incomprehensible, cloaked in layer upon layer of irony so that nobody would know what he really meant unless they were our guy. This performs a kind of nihilism that plays really, really well on particular image boards and Discord servers where this guy spent most of his life. And I say most of his life because that furry meme is from 2013. He was 10 years old when it was first posted and became popular. He, like you and I, grew up alongside this part of the internet that trickled out through the other platforms that we went on and has actually informed and driven a lot of our politics. Half of the administration right now is content creators, and all of the guys who are wearing masks going out on these deportation raids, the guys who are staffers of Republican members of Congress in these different executive departments, the guys who are 19 years old called in by Elon to Doge things, these are all Reddit kids. These are all guys who were on 4chan in 2013, laughing at that furry meme. Now, the question everybody's asking is, was this kid a groiper? And the question everybody's parents are asking is, what is a groiper? So groipers are the most extreme fringe of this kind of image board nihilistic culture that I'm talking about. They're led by Nick Fuentes, who is a content creator and a streamer, and they really are about transgressing any boundary that exists. They are like explicitly white nationalists, really bad, horrible people. The name Groiper originates from this variant of Pepe the Frog, which comes about in the late 2010s, and these guys adopt it as a kind of collective self-portrait.
Great breakdown, by the way.
They make it their profile picture, they make it their moniker. There was the Groiper War of 2019, in which Nick Fuentes and his people trolled Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, showing up at these debate events and asking questions that would...
Like, it feels embarrassing to know all of this, but I guess it's gotten to a point where, like, you kind of have to know this stuff now because, like, a lot of this, like, extremely online shit is having an impact in the real world. Like, I don't know how to describe it beyond, like, I knew about all this shit. Most of you know about all this shit. I spent most of my political career talking about this stuff as well. And it's just crazy that, like, I feel almost hypocritical telling you to be normal and not be so fucking online and consistently telling you that, like, the bus driver test should be applied here. Like, can you describe the situation to a bus driver in 60 seconds in a convincing manner? And now I'm realizing, like, we might need to explain all this to the bus driver. The bus driver test might not be that valuable or reliable any longer. Because, like, I talk about Telegram quite a bit. I talk about Groipers. Telegram is like the newer version of this. It's even more decentralized, it's even more insane, it's even more nihilistic and more violent. And I've covered that stuff extensively as well, especially in the past month. But, this is like if you think the Groiper stuff basically is the end of this depravity, it's not. Like, I would say you got Reddit, you got 4chan, you got 8chan, you got Groipers, and then you have the Terrorgram, which is even crazier than that, right? Like Order of Nine Angles and all those other different groups, right? So it gets, and the further you go down that rabbit hole, the darker things get, the more cultish things get, and the more violent things get. But it's wonderful that every child basically has access to this unlimited fresh hell of online radicalization and have basically grown up with this kind of shit.
push Kirk to say things that were even more extreme than Kirk was already saying. So where Charlie Kirk took like one step toward these kind of white or Christian nationalist ideas, the Groypers took 2 steps. They demanded that he make the subtext text. One post people have been citing as proof of the Groyper hypothesis is this one from his mother's Facebook that shows...
Like, I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is enough to indicate that he's a Groyper, I'll be honest. And I said that to Jason Palladino as well, fantastic reporter, who was of the mind that this was like definitely a Groyper. And I basically said, because he posted that, but that's a Gopnik. That's just a Gopnik meme. Like, everyone has seen that. That's almost like a universal thing. The Slav Squad is not necessarily just a Groyper thing, right? Because he said, feel like you don't do this unless you're in some right-wing nihilistic brain-rotted space. I said, yeah, I saw that as well. I don't know how to weigh that over the Ciao Bella, though. Like, that could be Gopnik posting, which is across the political spectrum. Need more info. Groypers usually hail previous shooters and have had way more aggressive slogans they use to signal. And that's what I mean. Like, if this was a far-right, this was like convincingly a far-right figure and was like shooting Charlie because he was frustrated that he wasn't like far-right enough or whatever, I think you would see a clearer indication of that. Okay? You would see a clearer indication of that because these guys don't hide their perspective. Sometimes they'll troll and they'll masquerade as like, they'll use leftist terms. Even Ciao Bella could be utilized by like Groypers or whatever, but like there would be more of an indication of their far right leanings somewhere, right? Like, so that's why I'm saying still right now that it's too soon to tell. I haven't been able to build a proper psychographic profile for the shooter. And can convincingly tell you like what the most likely radicalization pipeline was for this person. What I have found though, and this is something that I saw with Luigi Mangione as well, is that we are now in the age of shooters that are how do I put this? With shooters with like promising careers, like upstarts, like people who have really good GPAs, people who might have even played sports. You know what I mean? Like that's usually not the expectation. Like oftentimes when you see someone who violates the social contract in such a severe way, when you look to their background, it's usually never a person with like a prospect, with a promising career ahead of themselves, or with successful friendships and whatnot. It's usually like a socially isolated guy who's been brain poisoned by spending too much time online, right? They're oftentimes very like antisocial people. So I do think that with Luigi Mangione and with this shooter as well, when you look at their background, when you look at their trajectory, that actually doesn't fit the previous shooters and their psychographic profile at all. And that's kind of interesting. I would say that's like, that says something, right? A Gen Z colleague described to me black pill mindset to me in a way I'd never heard before. For younger kids today, especially men, there's a pressure to get rich at any cost or get famous at any cost. They use irony and crude memes, the massive deep anxiety they feel. What stood out to this person was lol, nothing matters attitude, Kirk's assassin. Yeah, he was trying to be nonchalant while doing the most chalant thing. You know what I mean? Like there is an air of like, I don't even care about this, this thing that I'm doing. And it is also very interesting. What stood out to this person was lol, nothing matters attitude. Kirk's assassin tries so hard to project in his ironic bullet inscriptions. Like if you see this, you're gay, Lamau. Like that's, that's crazy. Political, but mostly stupid meme Halloween costumes and the gamer culture he was steeped in. His politics almost feel secondary. We're seeing an uptick in ironic phrases written on bullet casings, and manifestos are peppered with very online references meant to be read and understood not by the media, but by these shooters' online peers. They want to be remembered as the people who went for it. It speaks to an alienation that younger Americans, disproportionately men, try to heal not through therapy, but through online game communities, Discord, and validating themselves online. I mean, I think this is like a boomer assessment, but it's not entirely wrong. It's something that I have obviously noticed. There's a lot of shared experiences in these online spaces, like a desperate way to create a sense of community, something that I speak to all the time. All the way to like the most depraved corners of the internet, like the Kiwi Farms people who get together and engage in the act of what they call A-logging, autistic logging, or lolcowing a person with like significant mental health complications, like stalking them, gang stalking them, almost professionally, and trying to ruin their lives professionally. And you get like a sense of community off of doing that, right? That is a thing that people do, and it is deeply, deeply antisocial. And obviously, the antidote to that is developing interpersonal relationships in the real world. But I think that kind of community fostering creates a replacement that isn't a healthy alternative to developing a real relationship in the real world and being around normal human beings. But it's enticing enough that people don't even realize that there is something that is missing from their lives. So in that regard, this feeds into that isolation that I think people have. That's definitely something that I have seen online quite a bit. And it's something that I try to push people away from in my community, at the very least, by forcing them and pushing them to engage in community organizing, labor organizing, and activism in general that forces them to go outside and be around other people and actually to talk to other people from a diverse ideological profile so that they can, learn how to be a human being. I'm fortunate enough that I'm 34 years old and I went through these experiences when I was growing up, and therefore I have this this foundation to build upon, so that even when I spend every waking moment online now, I still have this background. I still have this built-in understanding of the world and real world experiences. You mean protesting? Yes, protesting, activism of all different sorts, joining local organizations, things of that nature, right? Playing pickup basketball, going to a public park. These are things that are incredibly important for every single person to stay grounded to the real world in some way by force in an increasingly online universe that we exist in. And I think the inverse of that is absolutely going to Discord circles and like going to splinter Discord servers and like increasingly isolating yourself from even people that you are, even people in a broader community that you might be a part of. And yeah, it's there's two different ways to go about it. And I feel like a lot of people choose the easier alternative, which is to be sheltered from any sort of counters under the guise of anonymity online, and increasingly engaging in more antisocial behavior like this. Okay, so, but the structural issues are obviously the lack of hope for a better future for many in Gen Z, and we're seeing that almost universally at this point. Like, material conditions are deteriorating, and you see people react to that. You see younger generations react to that with protests, sometimes riots, and also these kinds of decentralized acts of violence. It's a truly terrifying predicament. So it also speaks to the lack of hope, but about the future, it's hard to say if these people even have coherent left-right ideologies. So much is being overridden. No, I think they do. They have a modified version of left-right ideologies, but there's still a left ideological leaning or a right ideological leaning. It's just harder to parse through and harder to pick up on, given that like all the irony poisoned posturing makes it very difficult for boomers and very difficult for people who don't speak this kind of language to truly comprehend. And that's where we're at. with this shooter as well. I think it's not entirely wrong, but there's an uptick of white male shooters from middle or high income families with careers ahead of them, noticing their futures are fucked and noticing systemic discrimination below them and throwing their future away to release the tensions as the political system is caving. I think it's a fair assessment. At the same time, they're stewing in social media ecosystem where algorithms feed them a constant stream of rage bait. And so they form parasocial hatreds. As the shooter's family said, he'd only become political recently and seemed to fixate on Charlie Kirk's viral content. What Governor Cox said is broadly right. Social media is cancer. When coupled with the social alienation epidemic we're seeing in America, it's convincing people that reality is something less than real. If you're never going to be rich, why not be infamous? The traditional venue for that was school shootings, but those have become so commonplace now that the shooters barely register in our media coverage. We're numb to it. What gets headlines now? Political shootings. Even better if your message is confusing for the normies. I mean, okay, the thread unwinds at this point a little bit because it's not just social media. I think social media is perfectly fine as a tool for organizing, as a tool for connecting with other people, as a tool for information dissemination. But there also needs to be a healthy balance there also needs to be a healthy connection to the real world, to real human beings that you know, whether it be your family members, whether it be your friends, whether it be your coworkers. And I think that is a part of the problem. Anyway, the rest of it is the thread unwinds a little bit there, but let's go back to the meme profiles. Like I said, I'm not so certain that this person was a groyper or someone of the ideological left background at all. But let's continue.
As a meme for Halloween, it seems like the meme is Gopnik Pepe, which is a 4chan meme to my understanding. But I don't quite associate it with Poll, which is like the political board on 4chan that most people are talking about it. I see it more as like a K meme and sort of like a rare Pepe type thing. But again, like many Pepe or groyper memes, the core of this is it's a lonely male figure in sort of an immiserated landscape looking sad. And that's part of the story I wish more people were talking about. What's driving our political violence isn't just polarization, where one side is getting more radical and kind of undermining democracy, nor is it algorithms, like some have said, that are like pickling the brains of young people. It is that feeling, which these Pepe memes represent, of you're always going to be alone, you're never going to have a future, and you're never going to have a voice. And that feeling, which is by no means rare or unusual in our society today, collides with a particular set of circumstances. This long entrenched nihilistic online tradition, the ready availability of firearms, and the increasing derangement of mainstream discourse, this ambient sense of like tension and volatility that exists in the air to produce stuff like this. And we're going to see more and more of it unless those root causes are addressed and unless we find a way to offer a better future to people.
So I do agree with the overall point, and I obviously talked about it as well. So I'm just going to quickly go through the New York Times op-ed that I wrote, because I sought to address some of these issues using the format that was given to me. Obviously, that's the classic one that everyone is obviously pointing to. Time to bring back the death penalty. Enough is enough. Representative Nancy Mace's comments on Charlie Kirk's killer allegedly being pro-T-word. Okay? And then after the background of the shooter is found, we know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus Christ. We will try to do the same. We truly believe if Tyler Robinson had ever sat down from Charlie, the great debater, the man of faith and grace he was, Tyler wouldn't have pulled the trigger. Like, it's insane. It's insane. They didn't even hide it. They just straight up went from, this is a radical Antifa transgender, and we need to kill all of them, to like, we have to pray for this young boy's soul. So I think it's like a combination of different factors. One, it's because not only was he white, but he was a corn-fed white boy. You know what I mean? He was a real ass like Mormon Utah boy. Okay. And I do think that these guys, unironically, I never thought this until this moment, but I really do think that a lot of right-wingers just straight up respond to race. Okay? I think that's it. Like when they see someone who is not just like white, but also not white in a spicy way where like they got a septum ring and fucking, I don't know, a hammer and sickle tattoo, but like just straight up, if you are like a white boy from a Republican family, they go, oh no, that's one of us. That's, it's obviously that this person was not like a leftist. Like that's the way they reacted to it. even if there wasn't enough evidence to suggest it at the time. And I think the other reason is because they saw all the Groyper stuff. They saw all the people being like, oh, this guy's a right-winger. He voted for, or he's a registered Republican. He gave money to the Republicans, which is fake, by the way. That's a totally different Tyler Robinson, which, again, Tyler Robinson is the most, like, if you were to point to, like, the most average Utah boy, I would literally build out a profile of Tyler Robinson, right? Republican, it's like John Smith, you know, Tyler Robinson, white boy, went to college for one semester, dropped out, didn't pursue it, and went back in and got like an apprenticeship, went to a technical school. Like, he did the most right-wing shit that you could possibly do. Not saying that like anyone that goes to a technical school is right-wing, but like that is how the right has presented the best possible future. You come from a good family, your family is always there for you, and then you don't go to college because college makes you woke and gay, and you get an apprenticeship instead, right? Like, you go to a technical school, you get an apprenticeship, you work a real job, an honest job, right? None of this like fake gay vaccine related college jobs. Like, he did all of that. He's a gun pervert, family of gun perverts since 8 years old. He's been like, you know, shooting guns and whatnot. So I think like when they saw all of that stuff, they went, oh, this is probably one of our guys, as I also mentioned, like Governor Cox said. So they decided, oh yeah, no, we should maybe dial it back a little bit. Having said that, that didn't stop Ben Shapiro from continuing to pursue this stuff. Even though this person sucks so much ass. Fuck this guy. I don't like Hassan Piker, but if he died tomorrow, Fox News would be celebrating Trump and post a shitty AI meme celebrating his death on Truth Social. This dumb fuck, literally, this Destiny dick riding piece of shit once famously said Donald Trump should deport Hassan because I don't like him. Like, so he's just farming, okay? Don't get it twisted. That motherfucker's just farming. Anyway, I don't like people invoking your name in this discourse, even if it's hypotheticals. I know. I don't like it either, but what are you going to do? Okay, so Joyce Carol O's defending you after you're quoting your New York Times article? Yeah. So, where was I? All right, so a lot has taken place. Let's get started. Even Moist Critical is spreading misinformation that he's a leftist. Look, guys, everyone is spreading misinformation, and at a certain point, you have to realize, like, are people spreading misinformation if they're just like rehashing what high-profile legacy publishers are saying? Because high-profile legacy publishers are dropping the ball without doing the proper investigation. Without doing the proper investigation, they're just like moving forward with whatever sound bites they can get. And one thing that's actually interesting in this process is like no matter how biased the police are, no matter how incompetent the police are, even cops, detectives, when they're setting up a shooter profile to figure out an ideological motive for a suspect in the aftermath of a situation like this, they will go to friends, right? They will go to the friends of the shooter and they will go to the family of the shooter, but they won't actually move on with that as like key pieces of evidence until they fully fleshed out a psychographic profile for the shooter. The media, on the other hand, is so horny to not get outflanked by the likes of, I don't know, Steven Crowder or whatever, that they are deciding that some random fucking neighbor actually can give us a convincing case on who this person is, right? Oh, we went to a friend. The friend called him a leftist. And then they retract the article and they go, okay, maybe the friend didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. He's just like talking out of his ass. So this is what's really annoying about it, where I cannot even fault the likes of, I don't know, Moist Critical for going along with what he is seeing in the news and then responding to it. Having said that, however, like I said, given what I know about like right-wing meme profiles with shooters, the last one being the Minneapolis church shooter that we talked about. If you remember, the Minneapolis church shooter was a far-right neo-Nazi that was most likely radicalized in one of these Telegram groups, not dissimilar to the Colorado school shooter that actually shot up his school an hour after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at UVU. And yet, the reason why I'm bringing that one up is because people said, oh, that's transgender radical Antifa. That's a transgender radical Antifa shooter. And they still are saying that. That wasn't the case. And the reason why I say that wasn't the case is because that shooter in Minneapolis very clearly showcased a meme profile that is consistent with far-right neo-Nazi, extremely nihilistic, esoteric neo-Nazi school shooters and mass shooters in general. And what I mean by that is like, he was venerating, Anders Breivik and the Christchurch shooter, like all these different white nationalists and white supremacists. Whereas this shooter's memes did not reach that standard at all, which is why I said Tyler Robinson, Kirk's alleged shooter, came from a Mormon family in both law enforcement and the military, but I'm not so certain if he himself was right-wing. A lot of the memes posted on the casings are ironic or of the left variety, different than previous far-right shooters. It's too soon to tell, but this is important to understand. As well, I said, I think people need to understand that there's a massive online far-right wing community that hated Charlie Kirk. This is something that I've brought up as well. Nick Fuentes, contrary to popular opinion, contrary to how he's presenting himself right now, Nick Fuentes has actually said infinitely more violent shit about Charlie Kirk than I ever have. Okay? So it's not like I had a more cordial relationship with Charlie Kirk as opposed to Nick Fuentes. That is the reality. That is the irony, because everyone in the far right and everyone in the right wing thinks I'm responsible for this, and they keep saying I'm the one who's responsible for this. Fuck you, Hassan, you did this. Meanwhile, if you look back at his statements, Nick Fuentes' statements about Charlie Kirk, you will see like he talked about fucking doing an endless amount of violence to him, and also Turning Point USA and whatnot. So they have been hunting and pursuing Charlie Kirk for quite a while, as a matter of fact. So, but that doesn't really matter in this moment, because like everyone on the right is very clearly trying to get together and use this as an opportunity to attack their ideological opposition, their enemies. They're using this as an opportunity to say like, no, it's the left that's hateful and all this stuff. So that's what's so crazy about this entire situation too, because like as far as I can remember, I don't think I've ever said anything that's remotely as violent about Charlie Kirk as like Nick Fuentes has. I mean, here's some choice ones, I think. I mean, there's a lot of metaphor that he uses as well, to be fair, and metaphors are things that I've used as well in the past, not directionally against like Charlie Kirk or anybody like that, but those metaphors are obviously being used currently in clips that are completely clipped out of context to make it seem as though I was like advocating for violence against the right or whatever the fuck, which is yet another story that I'm going to be covering as well. So but ultimately, I'm still of the mindset that it's like entirely too early. But one thing I have noticed is, and I suspect that there is I've noticed the tendency of the right to basically go along with misinformation no matter who's doing it, right? What I mean by that is I saw a fuck ton of liberal accounts posting the shooters like a photoshopped t-shirt of the shooter wearing like a Trump shirt that's not real. I saw so many people immediately go, this is a groiper, this is a groiper, this is a groiper. And I wasn't online at the time, and I didn't have the opportunity to like seriously go back and forth on this stuff at the time. But I wasn't so certain. There were people saying he was a DSA guy. I knew that wasn't real. They just like doxed another random DSA guy, which was really fucked up, but classic. But a lot of people, and I think what's more interesting is that a lot of right-wingers, I think when they saw the shooter, also decided he might be right-wing. Okay? What do I mean by this? Because once they found out the demographic background, once they found out his like family, his family history, the right toned down the calls for civil war and decided we got to lower the temperature, decided we got to pray for this young boy's soul, this young boy's heart. That was insane because I felt like I got slapped up, like I got whiplash from how quickly they went from we have to kill every leftist person because this was very obviously a transgender Antifa leftist to we have to save this boy's soul by praying for him. And that led me to believe that maybe they think he's right wing. And I don't know if it's because they have more information that I was not privy to, right? Here's the Nancy Mace tweet comp. Oh, this person sucks so much ass. Fuck this guy. I don't like Hassan Piker, but if he died tomorrow, Fox News would be celebrating Trump and post a shitty AI meme celebrating his death on True Social. This dumb fuck, literally, this Destiny dick riding piece of shit once famously openly say like, no, this is my platform. I bought it for propaganda. And if you don't like it, you can fuck off. Like, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it in whichever way I want to. I'm going to turn up the Nazi dial. I'm having a bad day today. I want more Nazis to be pumping on the timeline. And then he'll just go, he'll tweak it. And then that's all you see. It is so alarming that we are at the mercy of perhaps one of the most thin-skinned billionaires on the planet. Viral TikTok, you're mentioned.
Guys, people like Dean Withers were crying over Charlie Kirk's death.
I think I saw this one.
They were friends. I remember one time on Hassan's stream, he brought up how like Charlie Kirk asked Hassan in person to hang out. Like this shit was a joke to him. And Hassan said no because this shit is real life and he doesn't fuck with Charlie Kirk. Also, guys, you remember that like sex tape between Destiny and Nick Fuentes? Destiny was giving Nick Fuentes head or some shit. Or even like how Destiny and Nick Fuentes be hanging out. All these establishment politics white boys hang out with each other behind scenes and they hang out with shitty, white supremacist, shitty people. That's why when stuff like this comes out, everybody's buddy, everybody's crying. It's because they were all homies behind the scenes. But luckily, my GOAT, Hassan, he ain't play like that. That's my GOAT.
What, is that real? What do you mean? Which one? Which part of this? I don't know. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if like Dean and Charlie Kirk were friendly or whatever. I don't really know Dean that well, but I wouldn't assume that they were friends. But a lot of the people online, a lot of the people that do like debates in general, no matter how crazy their political differences are, do actually see it as like theater for the most part. Oh, did Nick really give D head? I don't know. He leaned into that initially, so. Probably not. I genuinely don't know. We don't know if he was sucking off Fuentes or not. But it was weird when it first came out because he like didn't deny it, but then maybe he was doing it because he wanted to like distract people away from the fact that it was all like revenge porn that was being distributed. Who knows? One-on-ones are a normal thing that doesn't make people friends. No, I mean, anyway, Tyler literally commented on how the news